All the other small fish, they'll just be getting cut up fish, which is probably sprat or whiting, and they'll just be getting thrown into the tank. So the two sharks we have in here, they're called sand tiger sharks, but they got different names all around the world, so also known as grey nurse shark or ragged-tooth shark. They're found pretty much all over the world in nice warm waters. So around Australia, Africa, the Americas, Mediterranean sometimes, but not too often. We've got a male and a female in here. So this is the female down here on the right hand side. Who might eat something now? Or just ignore it. So that's the female down there on the right. The best way to tell our sharks apart is the female is a bit bigger and she's a lighter colour as well. She's almost golden colour. But always the best way with sharks, underneath the male, you'll see when he swims past, he's got two white little muscles underneath sticking out the back. They're called claspers. All male sharks have those. They're used during mating. So that's always the best way to tell a male shark from a female shark. Our female is roughly about 11 years old, the male is about 9, and they'll live roughly about 20 years in the wild. They can live even a bit longer inside here. They're pretty much fully grown. The male is pretty much fully grown. The males can grow to about 2.5 meters, but the females can grow even bigger. They can grow to about 3 meters, so they get pretty big. So she'll grow another little bit more probably. So, like I said, they're just out of mating season at the moment, but the odds of them actually breeding successfully in captivity is pretty low. This species in particular just don't breed well in captivity. There's only been 4 cases ever. But they do try. You'll see the female here, she's got a lot of scars on her side, so that's for mating. Basically, the male will bite her on the side, he'll flip her upside down, and she goes into an almost paralytic state when she flips upside down. So that's what all the scars are from on the side. If she did give birth, it'd be pretty cool. She'd give birth to 2 live young. They'd be about 1 meter long, and pretty much just miniature versions of the bigger shark. Something happens during pregnancy to the female, though, that doesn't happen to any other type of shark, and it's not very nice. Basically, she'll have a number of babies inside her, and the 2 biggest will eat the rest inside the womb. So, a tough start to life before they're even born. Survival of the fittest. It's a pretty harsh way to start life. So not very nice. So you'll notice that the sharks don't eat the other fish in the tank. So the reason for that is basically we just keep the sharks well fed. If you keep them well fed, they'll generally stay away from stuff. You might have the odd incident, but it's not too common. So if we didn't feed them, they would eat all the fish, but just keep them well fed. This type of shark, though, they actually don't eat that much food. They're quite a naturally slow-swimming shark, so they don't burn much energy. So they eat roughly about 6 fish a week in here. It's not much at all. In the wild, they eat about double that, because they'd be hunting more and they'd be burning a bit more energy. But there's not much in here, so he might eat now. He's come up pretty high. Not the most aggressive strike there on that one, but generally there. So like I said, they really don't eat that much food. In the wild, they pretty much eat anything. So they eat fish, squid, rays, smaller sharks, pretty much anything they can find. They're not fussy. But they've got quite a cool way of conserving their energy, this species of shark, which most sharks don't do. So this shark has the ability to stop swimming. So most sharks need to swim, most fish as well need to swim all the time so that the water flows through their gills so they can breathe. A lot of sharks will sink as well if they stop swimming, which can kill them. So what these guys will do is they'll go up to the top, they'll gulp air from outside the water, and they store it in their stomach and in between their top teeth. So what this does is the air in their stomach keeps them buoyant and stops them from sinking. And then, because they pretty much stop swimming or have entirely stopped swimming, the water doesn't really flow through their gills, so they'll suck back the air bubbles that are in their teeth, gives them a bit of extra oxygen. So it's just a way for them to conserve their energy so they don't have to eat that much food.
You're watching Kitty, look. Look.
They're quite good hunters, the sharks. They've got several different methods of finding their food. Obviously, you'll see the sharks' eyes are very, very small, but they're actually great for seeing far away. They're not as good for seeing up close, but they're great for seeing far away so they can spot their food coming a long way off. They've got a very good sense of smell as well, the sharks. We all know they say they can smell blood in the water, or they can smell oils in the water is essentially what they can smell. They can feel a change in water pressure as well. So anytime something moves in the water, basically it changes the pressure, the way the water feels, and the sharks can feel that, lets them know something's around. And then they've got something called the sixth sense of a shark as well, which all sharks have, which is basically, you'll see it better on the female if she comes around again. all around her nose, around her eyes, right down that line that runs down her body. There's lots of little holes, kind of little pores. And basically underneath those there's little sacs of gel. And the gel is called an electroreceptor. So basically it allows them to feel electricity in the water. So anytime something moves, they're giving off static electricity, so they can feel that. And it's very strong, they can feel a pulse in the water, they can feel a heart beating in the water. So it just lets them know that something's around and they're able to find their food even if they can't see it. This type of shark, they're not particularly dangerous towards humans. There's been 77 recorded attacks on humans by this species shark, but no deaths ever recorded. So, not particularly dangerous sharks. Generally, if they do attack, same case with most sharks, they generally just bite once and then swim off again. So this shark don't have a particularly big set of jaws, so they don't do massive amounts of damage, but still do enough. Generally as well, with a lot of sharks, if they do attack humans, it's a lot of time it's mistaken identity. So, like someone on a surfboard, if you're looking up at them, might look like a turtle or a seal, so they might think it's one of those. And then as well, the juveniles would often attack people as well, the younger sharks. So basically just curiosity more than anything else. They'll kind of bite anything once to see what it tastes like, essentially. But deaths by sharks around the world aren't that common. There's roughly about 5 deaths by sharks every year on average around the world. But we kill about 150 million sharks a year. So we're definitely more dangerous to their population than we are to theirs. Or theirs to ours, sorry. Wrong way around. So you see the big turtle there then. So her name is Molly. She's a loggerhead turtle. Molly's roughly about 30 to 40 years old, and she can live to about 70 in the wild and longer in here.
Molly likes her food.
She does. Molly loves her food. She eats a lot. She gets her own bucket of food. So we've had Molly here for about 11 years, and she was a rescue turtle. So she was washed up on a beach around here. She was quite a bit smaller, and she was probably attacked by a shark, we think. So her front 2 flippers, you can see in there, they're quite short. They're about half the size they should be. So because of her injuries, she can't really swim fast enough to catch her own food. So that's pretty much why she's here. We've had other turtles in the past. We've had 5 others, but they were all rescue turtles. They were all rehabilitated and released again. Like I said, Molly's the only one we've ever had to keep. So in the wild, the main thing she kind of eat would obviously be fish, squid, jellyfish, crab, pretty much anything. We give her broccoli here sometimes. She's more than happy to eat it. She'll eat anything. She's not picky. So she'd still be able to catch certain things like jellyfish, but they're just not really the most nutritious of things. They're about 98% water, so she just needs a bit more than that. She's got a pretty sweet life in here though. She sleeps about 20 hours a day. She usually wakes up about once every hour, and she'll go up and breathe outside the water. So she's a reptile, not a fish. She has to breathe outside the water. And then she'll swim around for about 5-10 minutes, and then head back down again. And then she gets lots of food in here as well. She probably eats more than anything else does in a week. So, she's got a pretty sweet life. She's pretty much fully grown though. She shouldn't grow too much more than that. We're not too sure what weight she is. Like I said, when we got her 11 years ago, she was a lot smaller. You could actually pick her up. And we actually haven't touched her since she's been into the tank. So we don't want to weigh her. It would just stress her out too much. But generally, a fully grown loggerhead are somewhere between 150 and 200 kilos. So they're pretty big. We've got a stingray in here as well then, who I think is hiding up the back. See, the water goes very cloudy during the feeding, so the fish is quite oily, so it's hard to see things. The stingray is up there on the left-hand side of the back. You can just kind of see a bit of white that flashes every now and again. So that's a common Atlantic stingray. She's pretty big. She's about 2 foot across. They can get bigger than that though. So rays and stingrays are all members of the shark family, so they're all related. It's called the elasmobranch family, and basically what defines that is their skeleton isn't made out of bone, it's made out of cartilage like your ear. So they have all the same hunting capabilities as sharks, the 6th sense of the shark, to feel the change of water pressure, all that. So they're pretty skilled hunters as well. The main things that the rays would eat in the wild would be things that live on the bottom, so small fish, crab, shrimp, stuff like that. The stingray does still have her thorn on her tail, her barb, which is what she uses for self-defense. So it can be deadly to humans, but generally if you got stabbed in the arm or the leg, something like that, you have quite a bit of time to get help. But if it's stabbed you in the kind of chest or neck area, it can be fatal. So you might have heard of Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter who got killed by a stingray. He was very unlucky. He got it right in the chest multiple times, and he died of a heart attack after about 15 minutes. But generally, if you got stabbed in the arms or the legs or anything like that, you would have time to get help.
What's he doing?
There's two big eels in here as well somewhere. I think they're down the back though. I haven't really seen them today. There's a green moray eel and a leopard moray eel. The leopard moray eel is roughly about 5 foot, and she's about 4 foot, sorry. And the green moray eel is roughly about 6 foot. She's pretty big. So the green moray eel is a very, very kind of luminous green colour. Might be obscured in that tank there. I can't. But basically they usually hide in amongst the rocks and stuff. And the eels would be kind of the most dangerous thing in the tank, the most aggressive anyway. They're very territorial, so if you swam too close to them, they give you a nasty bite, they let you know about it. The two eels in here, they're mainly found kind of on the east coast of America, on the Caribbean sort of there, down as far as Brazil. The green moray eel looks green, but she's actually blue. So she's got like a mucus or a slime that covers her body, and it protects her from parasites and bacteria and stuff. But if you were to, you can rub it off, it comes off pretty easily. They're actually a really dark blue colour underneath. Pretty cool. And then we just got a load of fish in here as well. So majority of the silver ones in there are sea bream. You see up the top of the tank there's some silver kind of diamond shaped ones. They're called silver moonies. There's a big kind of silvery white guy with blue eyes. It's called a triggerfish. So the triggerfish is pretty aggressive as well. He's bigger than the sea bream are. He's pretty aggressive. Sometimes if you bang on the glass when he's up against the glass, he tries to eat your fingers. There he is, right in the middle of the tank there. So he's got, if he feels threatened by anything, what he'll usually do is he'll wedge himself in between two rocks, and he's got a spike on his back, which he sticks up in the air, kind of makes himself look a bit threatening. Tries to scare off any kind of predators or anything like that. There's some black and white ones in there, which you might have seen in Finding Nemo. They're called panic coral fish. There's one there on the right hand side. There's some other little silver ones with a yellow tail, or yellow fins, and 2 black stripes. They're called a pork fish or a grunt. And then there's one last guy in here. He's over on the right hand side, by that big piece of coral over there. He's kind of a dark bluey purple in colour, with a yellow tail and a white stripe. So he's just there on kind of the left hand side of the coral, just swimming towards you. He's a king angelfish. So the king angelfish are pretty aggressive as well. They're very territorial. So that's usually his spot over there on the right hand side by that piece of coral. And if he's in a grumpy mood, you'll see him fighting off the other fish. He even bites Molly and the stingray as well if they come too close. Thinks he's pretty tough. But you can generally only have one angelfish in the tank at a time, because they'll actually end up fighting each other all the time. Bit of a nightmare. That's about it now. I think that's all of them. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. And if you have any questions about anything in the aquarium at all, myself, Susan and Maria are on place. And we'll be feeding the penguins again at 4 o'clock, which is usually pretty good. They usually eat a lot of food. That's about it now, so thank you very much.